Okay, so now we've built our representation. The last thing I want to talk to you is about pickling. And pickle is a way in Python to save out data structures so you can use them later. Okay, it's a funny name, but it's basically the same concept. You store things for later use, right? And the reason we want to do this is after we've taken all this effort and time, in a lot of cases it will take some time to rebuild these things, we might want to use this data structure of this big dictionary and access it later for other analyses, right? So we don't have to open the zip files and all this other stuff every single time. We're going to pickle this data set, this dictionary, and export it to a file on our desktop. And that file we can then later open up and gain access to this dictionary once again. Pickling is super useful. You can pickle any data representation. If you have an array in Python, you can pickle it. If you have a dictionary, anything. The cool thing about pickling is it compresses it automatically. Pickling is actually a binarization. It converts all your data into a binary format. And binary is the most efficient way to store your data. It basically compresses everything. It does the same thing that zipping does. So the other advantage of this, if you're not working with zip files, if you recreate a data structure in Python and then pickle it, it's going to be the smallest possible file size for that information. The issue with pickling is as it's going through the process of creating that binary, it's storing it in your random access memory. And then it outputs it to your system. So however big your pickle file is, for instance, if we store everything from the zip file, it's going to be over a gig. You need at least that much space in your RAM above what you're already using, right? So if you haven't gotten very familiar with the capabilities of your computer yet, this task manager performance is your friend, right? Here it has your RAM. Here I'm operating at 80% of my 8 gigs RAM. So I'm already near the top, right? So if this is 80% of 8 gigs, I have about a gig left to work with. We'll hope that the file isn't too big, okay? But you want to monitor this. If ever Python exits out and says memory error, it's because you ran out of RAM, okay? You need to either get on a machine with more capacity or close down a lot of these windows. Surprisingly, Google Chrome takes a lot of RAM. So if you're ever having issues, you can just close your browser. Okay. So to pickle things, you use the pickle library. And then it's very simple. Pickle has two functions, one to dump, and that outputs the pickle file to your desktop, and one to retrieve. Okay. So to pickle something, we say pickle.dump. And then here we pass the data structure we want to pickle. And this is our POID dictionary. This can be any variable, any data structure. And then here we pass an open file. We can just use open working directory. I'm just going to put this into the same directory. And then I just specify a file name here. There's no standard file extension for pickling. You can use anything, but just to keep it straight, I use P or PCL. And then here I'm just going to say write binary. And this is the same structure. I'm opening this file, I'm creating it for writing, and I'm giving it to Pickle, so Pickle can put this into that file. Alright, so I'm going to run that. Now it should be in my data folder. Okay, so there it is, .p. You will not be able to open this file in anything, alright? But you can retrieve it within a Python environment later on. So this is once you get into these complex data structures, we're going to see this with data mining and machine learning too. You're going to have these structures of whether it's a piece of data in a dictionary or later it's going to be a trained machine learning system. You don't want to have to rerun all this training and everything every single time. So once you get a chunk, you export it and then you can go back to it and retrieve it later on. Okay, so that's the first code. It's just building up this dictionary and exporting it to a pickle file. Okay, this isn't graphs yet, but I thought this was really important to go through because it's going to help you no matter what you're doing in Python to work with these data structures. At this point, once I have this, remember it's not all the information, it's just user IDs. I don't have time or anything else in here. But now I have this pickle file that if I need to access that information, I can just load into Python, and I have that dictionary there ready to go, ready for the next analysis. Okay? So if you're starting to work with these data files, it can be really useful.